Okay, this meeting. Welcome to the Sheffield Sunday as Bill sees it's meeting. This is a main share meeting, and today it is with absolute great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Paige F from Calgary, who has kindly come to share with us for about 40 minutes, after which we will open up for general sharing, or if you'd like to ask Paige a question. So thank you so much, Paige, for joining us this morning. It's wonderful to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm Paige. I'm an alcoholic and so grateful to be here with you guys today. And yeah, part of why I picked that reading is because I was touched by the experimental nature that is Alcoholics Anonymous. Another way that I like to say it is that I was touched by the experiential nature that is Alcoholics Anonymous. You see, I don't know about you guys, but I came to Alcoholics Anonymous with a bad case of I knows. You know, I know. And I knew what I thought I knew, and yet I was miserable. And yet I was unhappy, and yet I could not seem to be of real use to other people, and yet I could not find joy, and yet I could not seem to stay sober on my own power, but I was stuck in the, yeah, I know. And here, let me just go like that, and I will do that. And that, and boom, got it. Just thought I'd set that up. Alrighty, and so when we talk about the experiential nature of Alcoholics Anonymous, what I can tell you is that I was held back by old ideas that I was not willing to have a new experience with. And what I want you to know is when I talk about Alcoholics Anonymous being experiential in nature, my experience is that alcohol is experiential in nature. And I'll be honest with you, I had no trouble experimenting with that. In fact, I had no trouble running the experiment of this time will be different again and again and again. And you see, when I talk about this experiential nature of alcohol, please bear with me. Imagine a day. You know, one of those days where it has been a day, you know what I mean? And you are on your last nerve. And I don't know who got the memo, but everyone is doing it wrong. And I'm frustrated and I'm just, and I sit down at the bar or maybe at home, like wherever you're drinking, you know what I mean? But let's for this purpose, let's say I'm sitting down at the bar and I sit down at the bar and the bartender's there and I say, listen, I need a drink. And the bartender says, all right. And the bartender starts to explain the drink that I've ordered. Perhaps the ingredients that go into it. Perhaps, how the hops is, synthesized into alcohol. Perhaps, and describing the hints and the flavors. To be fair, I wasn't drinking much with a hint or a flavor. It was more of a let's pass out blackout sort of deal. But you know what I mean? And then perhaps I start to get a little frustrated with the bartender, and I'm like, buddy, I need a drink. And the bartender's like, I gotcha. Let me tell you what happens when you take a drink of alcohol. Your liver will metabolize it, and it will produce an intoxicated effect. And it's like, man, I need a drink. You see, I don't know about you, but what I was always after was the experience of a drink. And that experience of a drink of alcohol was, that's what I was after. But you see, I come to Alcoholics Anonymous and it's a little like I'm arguing with the bartender about the hops or about the liver metabolizing. You know what I mean? When I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, I want to treat Alcoholics Anonymous as if it were an intellectual exercise. As if I could stay free and happy and have that experience based on what I think or what I believe, and most importantly, what I don't like. But here's my experience. My experience is I was after the experience of a drink, and I am after the experience of Alcoholics Anonymous. I can't stay sober based on my opinions or my thoughts or my ideas of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, you see, that thing about experientially minded, we often bring it out as it pertains to the second step. but actually to be experimentally minded. In step 1, we're given 2 experiments that we can run to decide for ourselves if we are alcoholics. Because I am the one that needs to be convinced. So just like a scientist, it doesn't matter what other people have said or done, and we can base our experience on the research of others, which is to say, I can go through the book Alcoholics Anonymous and hold up my experience to the symptoms of alcoholism that are presented to me. And I can see if my experience mirrors what is in this book. Just like a scientist that's going through research papers and trying to hold their theory up to that experiment. But if I am not convinced, I can pop into the chapter more about alcoholism. And on page 31, very bottom paragraph, it gives me the first experiment that I can run. It says, we don't like to pronounce any individuals alcoholic. And I always like to say, we don't like to. Doesn't mean we're not any good at it. Just going to throw that out there. We see each other. All right. But we do not like to pronounce any individuals alcoholic. But you can quickly diagnose yourself. Step over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. Try it more than once. So if you are unsure about whether or not you are an alcoholic, what, of course, we can do is we can read this book and we can go through the two main symptoms of alcoholism and identify. But if at that point I'm not convinced, well, I can go to the nearest bar room, hopefully a different bartender that'll actually serve me on this one, and I can go for some controlled drinking. I can drink and stop abruptly. And I want to be very clear, what does drinking and stopping abruptly look like? Well, it looks like going out for 3 drinks and stopping for a 24-hour period. That's what that means. And I'm very clear on that because I'm the sort of alkie that'll be like, but I broke the seal when I went to the bathroom. That was stopping abruptly. Or like, well, it's midnight. It's a brand new day. It doesn't count after midnight. It's like I'm a little Cinderella over here. The alcoholism just turns into a pumpkin. But listen, I'm ended up behind a dumpster. That sort of deal. And so, have 3 drinks and stop for 24 hours and try that experiment more than once. And so what would that experiment be trying to test? What would I be trying to find out? I'm trying to discover whether or not I have the first symptom of alcoholism, which is the allergy of the body. Do I have this allergy? Do I have the ability to drink and control the amount that I take every single time? Now, when I work with my sponsees, I'm a line-by-line girl. I love to take them through line by line to have that line-by-line experience. And there's not a sponsee that I have ever sat down with, not somebody that I have ever worked with that said, oh yeah, I'm about to just go do that. That sounds like a great idea, Paige. Every sponsee that I have ever sat down with has been like, yeah, girl, I don't need to do that. I know exactly what's going to happen because that is what was happening every single time before that. But yet not every sponsee that I have worked with have stayed sober. So it points to the idea, the conclusion, the logical conclusion that the allergy is only one symptom in my alcoholism. And so if we pop over, if you're bouncing with me, no worries if you're bouncing with me, it's early. The other symptom we can find on page 34. And the other experiment that we can run is on page 34, first full paragraph. It says, as we look back, we feel we had gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our willpower. If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for a year. So that is experiment number 2. Just don't drink for 365 days in a row. You really hope you didn't pick a year that was a leap year. Just don't drink. just don't drink. And see, what are we testing? Well, I'm testing to find out, do I have the obsession of the mind? And you see, if I have the allergy of the body, if my experience is that once I start to drink, I cannot control the amount that I take every single time, then that tells me I can never ever drink again. And that's not good news. That's a problem. But that does not make me powerless over alcohol. You see, I'm allergic to onions and peppers, and my allergy, I'm not powerless over them because I exert my power by not going to Chipotle. I am not going to have onions. I'm not going to have peppers. I'm going to read some ingredients. Do you know what I mean? I exert my power. But what makes me powerless over alcohol is I come to the morning after fueled with guilt and shame and remorse and self-hatred, and I hate who I am, I hate who I've become, and I see that alcohol has begun to ruin my life, and I say with everything that is in me, I will never drink again. But a day, a week, a month, several months down the line, I get a thought, and that thought happens in my mind, and that thought happens when I am as sober as I am today, but my illness is untreated, and that thought looks a little something like, this time will be different. Nobody will ever know. I just got to get out of my system. Well, I mean, my problem was drinking with other Calgarians, and you saw how the flames were going. It's not going well. You'd have to drink too, but we're over in Sheffield. It's completely different. No alcoholics across the Atlantic. You know what I mean? It looks like if you're going through what I was going through, you'd have to get drunk too. And so on and so forth. You see, that is what makes my illness hopeless. That is what makes me powerless. I have to stay sober. I need to stay sober. But I cannot achieve permanent, contented sobriety. You see, this is an experiment because I need to be convinced. It doesn't matter what my friends think. It doesn't matter what my family thinks. It doesn't matter what the judge thinks or the doctors think, because I am the one that needs to be convinced. And it is only when I come to that place of the end of myself, that I see that I got no other way out. I got no more plans. I got no more designs. That step one experience, I have to stay sober. I need to stay sober. But I know I can't stay sober. And that experience opens me up to the second step. And a lot of what we talk about, that running the experiment, is in regards to step 2 and step 3. This idea, could there be a power greater than myself? Now here's the thing, in We Agnostics, that's a chapter devoted to the second step. It really is a mental concession. Could there be a power greater than myself? Could this power be greater than my alcoholism? That's what's asked of me. But even in that, it is experiential. So step 2, part 1, is found on page 45. Sorry, I didn't tell y'all we're going to be bouncing around. If you want, everything I do is consensual. Y'all don't need to run this experiment if you don't want to. But on page 45, it talks about, not page 45, page 47. It's the second full paragraph, halfway down the page, 47. We needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a capital P power greater than myself? Could there be a power? Now, I'm not going to break down all that it was talking about, but it spoke about, over page 45, 46, it spoke about the barriers that we all come to belief in a power greater than ourselves. And those are real barriers that we all have. But what helps us to overcome those barriers to belief? That if there's a God, why do bad things happen? Why did I go through this? The conception that comes to mind to me feels inadequate. I had religion shoved down my throat. I saw religious people do hypocritical things. All of that. What overcomes and more, but wait, there's more. What overcomes that is my experience. It talks about, have we not had those moments when we're enchanted by a starlit night? Who then made all this? those experiences where our breath is taken away by the beauty and majesty of nature, holding a newborn in our arms. Or in 2025, I am beaten, I am broken, I've come to the end of myself, and I come to a meeting like this with people like you, people who have recovered. They drank the way that I drank, they felt the way that I felt, they experienced what I experienced, and would you not look at them? They are happy, and they are free, and they were just like me. And that experience, the experience of your spiritual demonstration, is something that I cannot deny. And so all I need to say is, is it possible? Is it possible that there is a power that is working in their life? I don't have it now. I haven't had that firsthand experiment. I haven't run that. But is it possible that they have something I do not have? And with your powerful demonstration, I can't deny it. And so let's talk about step 2, part 2. We can pop over to page 53 if you're bouncing around with us. And so step 2, part 1, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves. I need to believe that there is a power. And step 2, part 2 is, could restore us to sanity. Could there be a power that will take from me that obsession of the mind, the thought that I have that takes me back again and again and again to the first drink, no matter how much I need to stay sober? Well, on page 53, it says, when we became alcoholics, crushed by a self-imposed crisis. Rude. It's 7 a.m. Don't call me out so severely at 7 a.m. Self-imposed crisis. How did you know? Self-imposed crisis we could not postpone or evade, which is to say, when I have had that step 1 experience, that experience that I know I've got no way out, that experience that I know I have to stay sober, but I cannot stay sober, that opens me up to the second step. This whole thing is experiential. So self-imposed crisis we could not postpone or evade. We had to fearlessly face the proposition that either God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What is our choice to be? Now what we're going to do is we're just going to simplify that question real quick. Is it possible that the spirit of the universe is bigger than my rinky-dink little problem with booze? I see I'm doing a softball version. You know what I mean? Is it possible that that power is bigger than my alcoholism? And again, I cannot deny your experience. I cannot deny the results of the experiment that you have run. And that is enough for me to begin. But here's the thing. The book asked me a question. I might as well answer it. I might as well answer it as it is. God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What is our choice to be? I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't had all my morning tea yet. And it's a little early to be answering theological questions without all my caffeine in me. So how are we going to reconcile this? Well, here's the thing. We can ask ourselves from our own experience, am I alive today based only on seconds and inches? Were there times in my life where I should not have made it? And here I am, alive today, sober today, based on seconds and inches. Seconds I did not earn, inches I did not deserve. Is it possible that there is a power involved in that? And if you want, you don't have to, but if you want, you can close your eyes. And you can imagine a time in your life. You know, I live right by the Rocky Mountains. And when you drive out to the mountains, they emerge before you. And it is breathtaking. Have I had any moments where my breath is taken by the majesty of the mountains, a sunset, a sea, a flower of nature? Have I had any moments in my life where I've felt that connection, that presence, that oneness? Have I had any moments in my life where there is a peace and a calm that pervades me that is not my own? Have I gotten lost in the universe, staring at the stars, Or have I gotten lost in the universe staring in the eyes of a newborn baby? Have I had any experiences of that? And if I have had any experiences that are like that, I cannot say God is nothing. I cannot say there is no God. I must say God is. And if I say God is, I am left to say that God is everything. And if I have my first step experience, that I'm going to drink again. And in the second step, we also talk about what's our experience with the bedevilments on page 52. We were having trouble with personal relationships. We couldn't make a living. We were couldn't control our emotional natures. We were afraid of misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. Face it, man, that is how I'm feeling before I take a drink. What I've got is my way isn't working. A relapse is inevitable, and I'm going to be miserable on my way over there. And what I've got is I got a solution, and that solution is, could a spiritual awakening be possible? That's what I caught to in the second step. And when I stand at the third step, what I am standing at is the precipice of my life. I'm standing on this edge of a cliff. And actually on page 59, it says, half measures availed us nothing, which is rude. Because I've been wanting to run a couple half measures experiments. You know what I mean? And we joke about it in the rooms. 59, it's like half measures availed us nothing. And we'll be like, ha ha ha, half measures, it avails you nothing. But what does that mean? That means if I'm going to run this experiment and I only do some of it, I will drink again. If I do some of it, but not all of it, as a way of life, like my life depends on it, I will drink again. That's what that means. And with that information, we stood at the turning point. This is the turning point of our entire lives. And it says, we asked. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. And any time in this book, it says we asked, that is a prayer. And so what it is, I describe it. It's like I'm running through the wilderness, trying to outrun this monster. And this monster is my alcoholism, and I am booking it through this woods. But every time I try to outrun this monster, it closes in. And that obsession of the mind, that's what this monster really is. It takes a swipe, and when it gets me, the allergy takes me. And I'm beaten and I'm broken, and I pull myself up and I try to outrun the monster that is the obsession of the mind. I try to outrun the monster that is the first drink. And here's the thing is I am running. I am giving it my all, and the monster always clears the distance and comes to get me. And I see that I can't outrun this thing, so I start hiding. I'm hiding behind trees. I'm hiding in abandoned logs. Like I'm doing anything and everything, but it always comes and finds me. And then what do? I'm beaten, I'm broken. It gets me again and again. And each time it's harder to pull myself up. Each time it's harder to outrun this thing. And by some miracle, I make it out to a clearing, and I can see that monster barreling in, and I run. And I find myself at the edge of a cliff. And I look over the edge of that cliff, and there is a cloud. It is a cloud of unknowing. I can't see what is beyond that cloud, but what I hear is your voices saying, jump, jump, we've run this experiment, we've had this experience, jump, take this leap of faith, work these 12 steps as a way of life, like your life depends on it, because it does. Do it, we promise it's worth it. I don't know if I can trust you guys all the way, but I look behind me and I can see that monster barreling in, and there's nothing between me and that monster. There is nothing I've got to stop that thing from coming, because I'm out of options. I take that leap of faith. And you see, that's the experiment I'm running. The experiment that I'm going to run is I'm going to work these 12 steps as a way of life, like my life depends on it, because it does. And you see, let's talk about what are the results of the experiment. Well, first thing I got to do is, if I have made that third step decision, I have decided that I am going to do this thing. I know that I'm running the experiment because I'm writing inventory. When I say writing inventory, I mean writing it. I mean, I'm going after it. I'm working on this thing, and I'm getting through it. You see, the first thing that happens to me is experiential. Now, when it happens to you, you might not see it, but you'll see it in your sponsees when they begin to do it. When they get into that fourth column, when we look for where I have been at fault, there is a palpable, a tangible change. You can see the light begin to come on in their eyes. I know I can't see it in myself when I'm doing it, but who would have thought the magic would be in finding out I was the jerk all along? But that's where the magic is. I begin to see the world in a brand new way. And then I begin to have a look at my fears. And as I write on these fears, and I write how me relying on me did not work, how me relying on my power was a failed experiment. And I'm writing on how God reliance can overcome this fear. We will experience the four-step promise, one of the four-step promises, which is to say, just to the extent as we do, as we think he would have us, and humbly rely on him, does he enable us to match calamity with serenity. And that is not something that I can experience through thinking about it, through talking about it, through reading about it. I've got to actually do what it says. To the extent that I think I do as this power would have me, which is to say these 12 steps is a way of life. And, honestly, I skipped over the third step promises. So let me back up. It talks about established on such a footing that I work for this power. I'm keeping back on 63. Sorry, I'm bouncing around quickly. I'm aware I don't got a lot of time. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life as we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence. We began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. We were reborn. Now that promise does not happen at the third step. That promise happens as I make the decision, or as I fulfill my commitment to the decision in the third step. So that promise happens as I run this experiment, as I write step 4, as I share a fifth step, as I have a quiet hour, as I do my 6 and 7, as I go out and rigorously make my amends, as I continue this in step 10, as I continue this in step 11, and seek to grow this relationship and help others. I am on that footing when I am doing all 12 steps as a way of life. And we know that this is the result of an experiment because I could not do it on my own power, on my own thoughts. I don't care about other people in that way. Like, of course I always did, but not in that, like, less and less interested in my little plans and designs. Girl, I'm all plans and designs. And new power? I can't think my way into new power. I can't enjoy what's happening between my ears on my own power. I'm thinking that's what's happening between my ears and on my power. It's not going well, you guys. I can't think my way there. And it's facing life successfully. Man, my entire life I was unable to do that. And I cannot lose fear based on my thoughts or my opinions. I don't know about you, but the more I think about fear, I don't come to an equitable solution. I'm not like, boy, I'm really worried about this. All done. I found it. I found the answer. I'm okay. No, I just find more to worry about. And so I've got to take the action. And so again, in step 4, when I see how if I rely on this power, that calamity, and that calamity is not simply a bad day. The calamity is the pain and the trauma and the suffering of life, because I am not exempt from the human experience, which is rude, because I would like to be, but I am not exempt from that experience. It is matched with a serenity that is not my own. Now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Let's talk a little on page 75, the fifth step promises. It talks about we pocket our pride and go to it. And it's the second full paragraph. Those are the directions on how to do the fifth step. Go do it. Put your pride in your pocket. Do it. Illuminating every twisted character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we've taken this step with holding nothing, we are delighted. And that's how we know Alcoholics Anonymous is experiential. Because not a single soul looked at the fifth step on the board and thought, oh boy, that sounds delightful. That'll be a delight. Just telling God and another person my deep, dark secrets. Delightful, right? This whole thing is experiential. And if I think about the fifth step, I'm not going to experience this. If I believe in the fifth step, I'm not going to experience this. But if I do the fifth step, I will experience this. Withholding nothing. Like if I really run this experiment, this is what will happen. And we know that this is what will happen because the book Alcoholics Anonymous is not a book of opinions or theories or ideas. The entire book, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a book of experience. It is mostly Bill Wilson, but reporting the experience that he had in the first 80, 100 members of Alcoholics Anonymous, and what happened to them after they took this course of action. But more than that, each and every single one of us, every alcoholic here who has recovered from this hopeless state of mind and body, we can hold our experience up to the light and we can say, yes, this is our experience too. That is how we know that Bill just wasn't blowing smoke because he wanted to sell some books. That we know that this is real. And it says, once we've taken the step of holding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but we now begin to have a spiritual experience. Now, I could spend 20 minutes just breaking down these promises, and I don't got 20 minutes left. But what I will point out is the theory that I had in step 2 and step 3 is now becoming an experience. An over there idea that there could be a power is now becoming a lived experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway. In step 2, it's like, hey, if you want, you can join us. Now we're on it, the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. This is an experience. And so let's pop over. Let's talk about those 9th step promises. We'll do it 83. I'm like, I don't know if I got time for the 9th step ones. I want to hit the 10th step and I want to land us on page 100. It says, if we're painstaking, bottom paragraph of page 83, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, now these are often called the promises. I don't even think they're the best ones. They're the promises that come through in step 9 when we are painstaking about actively making our amends. So I've got to run the experiment to get the result. And it says we will be amazed before we are halfway through. So I've got to do them to get the results. And as I'm sure many of us know, we're going to know a new freedom, a new happiness. I couldn't think my way there. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. My opinions on it couldn't get me there. We will comprehend the word serenity, which is not to say I looked it up in the dictionary. It is to say I experienced it. And I will know, as a know within my heart peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. I can't do that based on my opinions, based on my arguments. It is an experience. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. That was what was promised to us in the third step, promises. That's how we know that these promises happen as we continue with all 12 steps as a way of life, like our life depends on it, because it does. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. We're beginning to have a spiritual awakening. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. If I am baffled, I can't think myself into an intuitive change. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. It goes on to say, are these extravagant promises? I'm big on saying, yeah, they're pretty extravagant. They're pretty extravagant. But here's the thing, they're being fulfilled in my life, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if I work for them. If I'm going after my amends the way I went after a drink, it will materialize, it will happen. Now, let's pop over real quick to the 10th step promises, bottom of that page, bottom of 84. Because if I have had the experience of the obsession of the mind, if I have had that step 1 experience, these are the promises that I need. I need to stay sober, but I can't stay sober. I have to stay sober, but I can't stay sober. It says, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. When we talk about sanity returning, what we mean is the obsession of the mind is gone. And we're describing it here. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. This is a change that I could not bring about myself. It happens to me. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. I'm not fighting it. It says it just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We've not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is the result of our experiment. When we work these 12 steps as a way of life, like our life depends on it, because it does. And we go through 4 through 9 quickly and thoroughly. And we continue that process in step 10. And we go from there to grow it, to deepen it in 11 and share others in step 12. That is our experience. That is how we react, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. That is the result of the experiment. That's what will happen. And now there's some 12-step promises. They kick off on page 89, working with others, and it talks about that nothing will, I'm just going to paraphrase real quick, nothing will ensure immunity as intensive work with alcoholics. I can run that as an experiment. Why don't I carry this message to alcoholics and see what happens? But it talks about how life will take on new meaning, to watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you. This is an experience you must not miss. I can't have that when I'm sitting around in my mind arguing about actions I don't want to take. But if I take these actions and I share them with others, I will experience the miracle, not just in my life, but in their life. What I'm going to wrap up on with the 2 minutes left. Last promise I'm going to touch on. Page 100. It says, both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. So I've got to work with others. I've got to continue to grow spiritually. Many of us have run that experiment. What happens when I get complacent? And I find myself back to page 52 pretty quickly, those bedevilments. And if I stay bedeviled, I'm going to get drunk, or I'm going to kill myself. It says, if you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. So how do I put myself in God's hands? Well, I got to take that leap of faith that I was talking about in step 3. And I got to work these 12 steps, the way of life, like my life depends on it, because it does. And when I stood at the edge of that cliff, I didn't know what the results of my experiment were going to be. I didn't know what I was going to find beyond that cloud of unknowing that I couldn't see. and I didn't know where I was going to land. But every single time I take that leap of faith, I find myself safely and securely in God's hands. A God I didn't like, a God I didn't believe in, a power that I didn't know anything about, that I begin to experience. And if that is you, you're standing on the edge of the cliff, and you're not sure what's going to happen, what I would encourage you is take this leap of faith and let us help you run this experiment, and let us help you find all of the results that we have found. Our very life depends on it. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much.